Think Jimmy Kimmel's big comeback was a win? Think again. In just 48 hours, he lost over 70% of his audience. And the real shocker? The guy no one expected is now dominating late-night TV. Today, we're breaking down the ratings disaster, the secret rise of Greg Gutfeld, and why the mainstream media is staying completely silent about it. You do not want to miss this. The numbers are finally in, and let's just say Jimmy Kimmel's big return didn't go quite as planned. After taking a break and nearly facing cancellation, Kimmel's first week back has been anything but triumphant. While the mainstream headlines are quiet about it, here's the truth they're not telling you. Greg Gutfeld on Fox News completely outperformed Kimmel in the ratings, and this might just be the start of a bigger downfall. But here's where things get interesting. There's actually another major loser in this late-night shakeup, and surprisingly, it's not Gutfeld or Kimmel. Who it is in just a moment. Welcome back, everyone. Step right in, take a seat, and get comfortable because we're diving deep into what's really going on behind the scenes of late-night television. Each day, we cut through the noise to uncover the truth the mainstream avoids. And today is no different. So hit that like button and let's jump straight into it. Because the battle for late-night TV isn't just heating up, it's turning into a full-blown takeover. Gutfeld has completely dominated the field, leaving Kimmel struggling to keep up. And according to the New York Post, written by Brian Flood, that short-lived spike Kimmel enjoyed after returning to air? It's already over. Disney had temporarily suspended Jimmy Kimmel Live after the host's controversial comment about the alleged assassin of Charlie Kirk triggered major backlash, and now, it seems that decision may have lasting consequences. By Thursday night, things took a sharp turn for Jimmy Kimmel Live. The show managed to pull in only 2.3 million viewers, marking a dramatic 64% plunge from the 6.5 million who tuned in for Kimmel's highly publicized comeback on Tuesday. And the numbers look even worse in the key advertising demographic, adults aged 25 to 54, where Kimmel's audience collapsed by a staggering 73% in just 2 days. Yes, you heard that right, a 73% drop in the most valuable age group. That kind of decline doesn't just raise eyebrows, it sets off alarms in the world of late-night television. According to media analyst John Basham, Kimmel's early sugar rush of viewers quickly faded, with ratings falling nearly 70% after his much-hyped return. By Wednesday, just 1 day later, the late-night rankings painted a completely different picture. Greg Gutfeld came out on top, commanding an impressive 3.2 million viewers. Kimmel landed in second with 2.4 million, while Stephen Colbert followed close behind, just shy of 2 million. And down at the bottom of the chart, Jimmy Fallon, pulling in only 1.2 million viewers, a performance that can only be described as disastrous. But here's the twist, Fallon's not just struggling. He might be the real loser in this ratings war. Gutfeld's rise has completely disrupted the late-night hierarchy, redefining who actually owns that space. Despite networks hesitating to even label him as late night, the numbers don't lie, he's dominating the competition. Meanwhile, Kimmel, once thought to be riding a wave of public sympathy and free speech support, is now trailing Gutfeld by nearly 1 million viewers on only his second day back. If that's what day 2 looks like, just imagine what day 5, 7, or 9 might bring. The so-called comeback story. It's quickly turning into a cautionary tale. They are not going to tell you this, but we will. The truth is, Jimmy Fallon has quietly become the biggest loser in this entire late-night shakeup. And here's why. Fallon no longer has a core audience to rely on. If Stephen Colbert had stepped away and Jimmy Kimmel had followed, the field would have narrowed down to just 2 players, Greg Gutfeld and Fallon. That would have given Fallon a massive opportunity to shine, splitting what's left of the late-night audience into 2 strong camps. But that dream scenario, it's not happening, because while Colbert might be on his way out, Kimmel is staying put. And that means Fallon is now forced to battle it out with Kimmel, the very figure the mainstream media loves to portray as a free speech symbol of resistance. Meanwhile, Gutfeld isn't just winning, he's having fun doing it. The Los Angeles Times even ran a piece titled "Fox News Greg Gutfeld Makes Late Night His Punchline. We're the ones having fun now." Written by Ali Lerman, the article highlights just how much momentum Gutfeld has built in a space once dominated by traditional network hosts. At one point, Lerman asks Gutfeld, now officially the #1 late-night host in the 10 p.m. slot, how it felt to find out he'd taken the top spot. "Do you get a cake or a giant check?" she jokes. Gutfeld laughs it off and explains that it wasn't some big moment. The realization came gradually. "I get ratings every single day," he said. "So I was able to watch us win over time. Honestly, I wasn't surprised. I just thought it would take longer. Maybe a couple of years. But it happened within months." And when asked about the King of Late Night label that's now attached to his name, Gutfeld admitted he's still not even sure where that title came from. But the irony is clear. The man once dismissed by Hollywood is now sitting comfortably on the late-night throne. Gutfeld gives credit where it's due, and in this case, that credit goes to Dave Rubin. Rubin appeared during the show's first week and made a bold prediction. "You're going to be the king of late night. You're going to be number one." At first, Gutfeld says he didn't even want to acknowledge it. "I hate saying stuff like that," he laughed. "Because if it doesn't happen, it always gets thrown back in your face." But as it turns out, Rubin was right. Eventually, Gutfeld decided to lean into the joke, even putting the King of Late Night label on the cover of his book. He admits it felt audacious and ridiculous, describing the image as if he were towering like a skyscraper with a King Kong vibe, a tongue-in-cheek way to poke fun at his own success. The Los Angeles Times article captures it perfectly. It's a light-hearted look at how Gutfeld, once underestimated by mainstream media, is now thriving, not just winning in the ratings, but clearly enjoying the process. But here's the part no one in traditional media wants to talk about. When Kimmel was temporarily suspended, major outlets rallied around him, painting him as a kind of Hollywood martyr for free speech. Yet now that Gutfeld has decisively beaten Kimmel in his first week back, especially on cable, where audiences are supposed to be smaller, you can barely find a single headline about it.so. The question is, why the silence? What Gutfeld's victory really shows is a much bigger cultural shift. The old celebrity-driven late-night model that once defined shows like Kimmel's just doesn't resonate anymore. As one commentator put it, this is the least surprising thing of the year. Kimmel may still have Hollywood behind him, but that doesn't mean the audience is following. We saw the same thing during the last election. Hollywood doesn't speak for the people anymore. The public has its own voice now, and it's clearly saying something different. In fact, Gutfeld was already outperforming Kimmel before the controversy ever began. And now, even after Kimmel's dramatic return, those viewers have drifted right back. Most people likely tuned in out of curiosity, wondering if Kimmel would apologize or say something explosive after the clash. But once they realized it was business as usual, complete with a flat, scripted bit featuring Robert De Niro, the hype fizzled out, and by the very next night, the audience had made its choice. They went back to Gutfeld. We constantly see articles breaking down TV ratings, but have you noticed something strange? Hardly anyone in the mainstream entertainment press, whether it's the trades, tabloids, or Hollywood-focused outlets, has said a word about Jimmy Kimmel's second, third, or fourth day back on air. Outside of a few independent reports, the silence is deafening. In fact, the very same day that one outlet ran a story exposing how Kimmel lost 70% of his audience by day 2, CNN published a completely different take, claiming that the Jimmy Kimmel ratings train was still rolling strong. Their proof? YouTube views. Apparently, CNN now counts YouTube clicks as TV ratings, something they've never done before. Sure, they've occasionally cited YouTube stats for hosts like Stephen Colbert, but only when a single clip goes viral and pulls in a few million views. Even then, it's usually just a spin to suggest that people are still watching. But if that's the standard now, where's the same treatment for Greg Gutfeld? His online engagement regularly outpaces the traditional network hosts, yet mainstream media continues to act like he doesn't exist. In fact, Gutfeld's name is often completely excluded from the industry's nightly ratings breakdowns. Some entertainment sites even make it difficult to find his numbers, forcing analysts to dig through multiple sources just to get the full picture. And that's despite the fact that Gutfeld consistently ranks as the #1 late-night host in America, often drawing more total viewers than both Colbert and Kimmel combined. Still, many outlets would rather ignore that reality than admit a Fox News host has taken over a space once ruled by liberal-leaning comedians. As one commentator noted, only a handful of websites, like Late Nighter, even bother including Gutfeld's stats when listing late-night performance. The rest? They'd rather pretend is not part of the conversation at all. This entire situation really exposes how deep the bias runs in entertainment media today. Mainstream outlets seem unwilling to admit that audiences have simply tuned out of left-leaning programming, whether it's news or late-night comedy. People just aren't watching it anymore, and rather than acknowledging that shift, these platforms continue to pretend it isn't happening. Many viewers, myself included, now turn to shows like Greg Gutfeld or The Five on YouTube when we want news, humor, or a dose of authenticity. I can't even sit through CNN anymore, especially after they dropped the one commentator who brought any real balance, Scott Jennings. And yes, I'll admit part of the fun of watching The Five is seeing Jessica Tarlov get completely dismantled in debates. It's become a nightly ritual for many. But what's truly baffling is how Jimmy Kimmel managed to lose more than 70% of his audience in just 48 hours. Think about that. This is the same host the media painted as a free speech martyr, a man supposedly silenced by the system for standing up to the orange man. Yet when he returned, expecting a wave of support, Greg Gutfeld, on cable, no less, completely outperformed him. And when you look closer, the reason is obvious: content. On his third night back, Kimmel delivered another monologue centered entirely around Donald Trump, saying, "For those who think I go too hard on Donald Trump, and yes, there are still people who believe I should be pulled off the air for making fun of him, let me explain something. I talk about Trump more than anything because he's a bully. I don't like bullies. I played the clarinet in high school, okay." That was supposed to be the big return moment. The problem is, audiences have moved on. What once felt bold or provocative now just comes across as stale and predictable. Viewers tuned in hoping to see a new side of Kimmel, something refreshing or self-aware. Instead, they got the same recycled narrative and forced humor. So when they realized nothing had changed, they went right back to Gutfeld, a host who, love him or hate him, actually feels spontaneous, sharp, and in tune with what real people find entertaining. This moment from Jimmy Kimmel's return perfectly sums up why audiences are tuning out. During his monologue, Kimmel compared Donald Trump to an old-school 80s movie bully, the kind who steals your lunch money, snatches your peanut butter and jelly sandwich, eats your Oreos, and mocks you in front of everyone. He'll read the note your mom packed and say, "Oh look, mommy loves her little boy," Kimmel joked, grinning as he described Trump smiling with crumbs in his teeth. But the problem was obvious: there was nothing actually funny about it. It wasn't clever satire. It wasn't sharp political humor. It was a recycled, cartoonish bit that felt like it was written for a fifth-grade talent show. This kind of material is exactly why viewers have lost patience with late-night comedy. It's not just that the jokes are weak, it's that they are predictable, surface-level, and painfully smug. The comparison was so childish it could have been summarized as calling someone a poopy head on national television. It's that tone-deaf, that lazy. And when that's the level of writing you bring to a much-hyped comeback, it's no wonder more than 70% of the audience vanished almost instantly. Meanwhile, Greg Gutfeld is thriving precisely because he avoids this formula. While Kimmel leans on the same tired Trump material, Gutfeld delivers something that feels off the cuff and self-aware. Even when you don't agree with him, at least you feel like you're watching someone in touch with the audience. Kimmel's performance, by contrast, came off like a free trial everyone was curious to sample, only to realize they had no interest in subscribing. The hype was there for a moment, but after hearing that same recycled orange man bad routine, viewers decided they'd had enough. And just like that, the audience made their decision. When asked, "Do you want to keep watching for free?" they collectively said, "No, we're good." That right there sums up the collapse of late-night television in real time. People aren't interested in sitting through another hour of hollow, pre-scripted monologues pretending to be comedy. They are done. They've moved on. And for many, that means turning back to Greg Gutfeld, because at least his show feels unscripted, spontaneous, and rooted in something real. What's happening now is bigger than just one failed comeback. The truth is, Jimmy Kimmel isn't funny anymore, if he ever really was. He's just standing there, reading teleprompter lines drenched in bitterness and political spite. There's no punchline, no wit, no timing, just snarky commentary delivered like a bad high school skit. And somehow, Disney risked everything. Their affiliate relationships, FCC stability, even potential billion-dollar deals like the rumored NFL partnership, just to keep him on the air. For what? A comedian who's hemorrhaging viewers faster than any host in recent memory. This isn't just a ratings slide, it's a cultural shift. America has spoken, and they are not laughing. Late night, once the crown jewel of television, has turned into an echo chamber for out-of-touch elites who mistake political rants for humor. Meanwhile, Greg Gutfeld, love him or hate him, is sitting comfortably atop the throne. He's winning because he actually entertains. And as the others continue to crash and burn, whether it's Kimmel's teleprompter tirades, Colbert's smug sermons, or Fallon's watered-down bits, one thing is clear: the audience is gone, and they are not coming back. And that's how they wrap it up, not just with commentary, but with community. As the show closes, the hosts remind viewers that their platform isn't just about critique, it's about creating something better. They direct fans to partner channels like That Park Place, That Pod Place, and That Game Place, all part of a growing ecosystem built by independent creators who actually respect their audience. And unlike the corporate giants they critique, These channels are run by people who value engagement, authenticity, and entertainment that doesn't insult your intelligence. Then comes the plug for Vacation Radio, a truly refreshing alternative to the often stale and predictable offerings of the mainstream music industry. In a media landscape dominated by conglomerates, repetitive playlists, and algorithm-driven suggestions, Vacation Radio stands out as a breath of fresh air. It's not just another station. It's a project rooted deeply in positivity, creativity, and freedom, built by the same team behind the WDW Pro channel, who understand the value of connecting with an audience rather than just broadcasting at them. Unlike big corporations that churn out content for profit alone, Vacation Radio was designed to give listeners a sense of joy, discovery, and ownership over what they experience. The station offers hundreds of songs spanning every genre imaginable, from classic rock and pop to indie, jazz, and electronic beats, a truly expansive library that makes every listening experience unique. Listeners aren't confined to the same formulaic tracks pushed by major labels. Instead, they get carefully curated music that feels alive, spontaneous, and human. Each track has been selected to evoke emotions, inspire curiosity, and, most importantly, bring a sense of fun back to the act of listening. In a time when media and music often feel transactional and impersonal, Vacation Radio reminds audiences that music can still be personal, relatable, and uplifting. As the voiceover aptly puts it, why listen to music made by people and companies who don't like you? That question is more than just clever marketing. It's a mission statement. It challenges listeners to consider not just what they consume, but who is creating it and why. It encourages people to think critically about their media choices and to align themselves with creators who respect, value, and understand their audience. In other words, Vacation Radio isn't simply filling airwaves with sound. It's building a community of listeners who feel seen and appreciated, a stark contrast to the often cold, profit-driven approach of the mainstream industry. But Vacation Radio isn't just about music, it's about empowerment and intentionality. The channel encourages its audience to like, share, comment, and subscribe, but even beyond those actions, it asks listeners to actively choose where they give their attention. In today's media-saturated world, attention is currency. Every like, every view, every stream is a vote for the type of content and creators you support. By intentionally directing attention toward independent, authentic, and audience-centered media like Vacation Radio, people are not only enriching their own experience, they are helping to shape the future of entertainment itself. And this is where the larger significance lies. If audiences continue to step away from Hollywood's scripted, often manipulative narratives and toward platforms where creators genuinely care about their viewers, we may be witnessing a rebirth of authentic entertainment. A new era where shows, music, and media aren't dictated solely by corporate boards or market trends, but are crafted by people for people, with creativity, joy, and engagement at the center. Vacation Radio is of that movement. It's more than just a station, it's a symbol of what modern entertainment could be: inclusive, dynamic, and rooted in real connection. Ultimately, tuning into Vacation Radio is a small act with big meaning. It's a chance to reclaim your media experience, to enjoy music that resonates, and to participate in a culture that values authenticity over artificiality. It's an invitation to join a community that celebrates fun, discovery, and creativity, and to reject content that feels forced, cynical, or disconnected from its audience. In a media environment that often prioritizes profit over people, Vacation Radio reminds us why entertainment should be joyful, personal, and made with heart. Because the best experiences come from creators who genuinely care about their listeners, and that's exactly what Vacation Radio delivers.